And we're back here on Fresh Waves. We're talking about all kinds of fun things this morning, but the basis of the show is organ donation and organ donation awareness. Sign your card, get your organ card, donor card signed. If you want, you can go onto web anytime you want on beadonor.ca. Super easy, beadonor.ca. Put it all together with no spaces, beadonor.ca.
It takes about a minute and a half.
Minute and a half.
Yeah.
You've got a minute and a half in your life to change someone else's life. Whether you live to be 110 or not, they can still use parts of your body.
Yeah,
even when you're 110.
Sure. And tissue donation too, right? It's not just vital organs, it's actual tissue donation as well, and up to 75 people that you can enhance the lives of. So, big difference you can make, big impact.
Yeah, a big impact, and it means so much to people like you guys sitting in this room this morning.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. Like, none of you would be here right now if someone hadn't been a donor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the kidney transplant, when I received mine, I spent 9 years on dialysis. And when I got the call, they called 3 of us in. And so, because you receive 1 kidney, 2 of us had a kidney that night. So our lives literally changed overnight because of 1 person.
Right.
So, I mean, it's, you go for me, I did home dialysis. I did dialysis 5 nights a week, 8 hours a day.
What?
Yeah.
So you slept every night?
I slept every night. I did my own needles. I cannulated myself. I ran my own machine. I was my own nurse, which is why I was one of the first people to have a baby on dialysis because I was doing...
All right, so tell us a bit about that, because that's actually amazing.
It was a big deal back then. My son's 12 now, but back then it wasn't really heard of. I realized I started doing nocturnal dialysis. It was a pilot in our hospital, St. Michael's Hospital, and they were looking for 200 people to try this out, this new technology where you're going to sleep overnight on the machine versus coming into the hospital for 3 to 4 hours, 3 times a week. So imagine your kidneys only worked for 12 hours a week when they should be functioning 24 hours a day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you're limited on what you can eat. You're not feeling very good. You're constantly gaining and losing weight. So it's not a very comfortable feeling. And plus you're spending a lot of your time. It's very hard to work when you have to go into the hospital, and spend travel time setting up, leaving, and then not feeling well when you're coming off of the machine. So a lot of people lose their jobs, and once they go through that process, they lose their get up and go. They lose their mojo. So it's a very difficult time to go through. Whereas nocturnal dialysis is something that you can actually bring the machine home, or you can do it in the hospital, and you do it for 8 hours a night versus 4, and so you're getting 32 hours, depending on how many hours you do it, but 32 hours versus 12. So I was suddenly allowed to eat more. I had way more energy. And because I did it overnight, my days were free and I could still work. So, I was so sick when I started, I didn't realize that I was even capable of getting pregnant. And 3 weeks before my wedding, I found out that I was pregnant. On my bachelorette night. And I had to go back to St. Mike's, my hospital, and ask them if it was even possible for me to carry a child while I was on dialysis, because it's just not something that they did.
Right.
And so they were willing to stand behind me and support me and help me through the process. And, it was quite the process to be on a machine and 9 months pregnant. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, but it is possible. And I mean, back then I was one of the first, but a couple of years ago when I did a conference, I spoke with 4 other women. And at that time there was 26 of us who had successfully taken babies to term and had, relatively decent pregnancies, healthy. So,
wow.
Yeah. And my son's, beautiful. He's a 12-year-old beautiful boy. He's very outspoken. He's been on the Rick Mercer show. He's one of those kids who's just,
awesome.
very, very happy kid.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's I can talk a lot. So
no, that's good. It's just an amazing story. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So you've got this great kid, and then you got a kidney after that.
No, I got a kidney after I had my son. So my son was about 4 when I got the call. Mm-hmm. And the call, I don't know if you guys remember Rogers. They used to put on the screen, the telephone number comes up on your screen. Mm-hmm. I ignored the call because I didn't know who it was. It was a 1-800 number. I didn't know who it was.
This is like before the days of cell phones, or?
Well, they didn't call my cell phone. They called my home phone first, and it showed up on my screen. And I had my son, and it was a Sunday afternoon. My husband was in Scotland. So, and then I thought, oh, maybe and it showed up as a long distance call as well. So when I actually picked it up, they're like, hey, we found a kidney for you. How soon can you get here? That was it.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. So literally within 12 hours, I had a new kidney. Wow. And after 9 years of waiting. So it's that random. It happens that quickly, and it changes your life literally overnight.
Did you feel well when you woke up from surgery?
I felt, well, you're confused, right? Because you wake up and you have a lot of tubes in you, and you're just, there's a lot going on, and you've just come off of, a very big surgery. But I'm telling you, within a day, I felt like, wow, I do. Yeah, you do. You feel totally different. Wow. It's a game changer, 100%. And, my life has skyrocketed ever since. And I know a lot of people who, once they've had their transplant, like, wow, you can see the difference almost immediately and how they feel about themselves, how people around them feel. Like, I can see by your face how happy you are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was a complete game changer for me. It's
and then you treat life differently, don't you?
Oh, 100%. I treat life the way life should be treated. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I got a chance to live now and do the things I should be doing, that normal people should be doing. And,
and that country western song, song. I go skydiving, I go Rocky Mountain climbing.
For sure. I just want to do the things that I've always been doing prior to this, and to keep doing, and enjoy time with family and friends, and
not take any of it for granted.
Absolutely. And the things that are important in life.
It changes your perspective 100%. Yeah. Like, you just realize, wow. And I think you also realize the things you could do to help others, to see, okay, like, look at what you can do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can all make a difference, no matter how small. And if we all did just that little bit, what a different world it would be.
Well, I tell everybody I had a transplant. I'm a double lung transplant recipient. I'll walk with them for a while. So I meet somebody in the golf course, and we'll go walking, and after a couple holes, say, I had a double lung transplant 1.5 years ago, and they're like, what? And you're doing this?
Wow.
So it's, and if that sparks them to become a donor and to make them aware about it, then I've done what I need to do.
Right. Yeah.
But I tell everybody, and I love to tell my story because I think it's important to be told. It's a story that needs to be told. And, and that's what I like to do. So
that's amazing. I actually met a man in Costa Rica when I was on vacation earlier this year who was a heart transplant.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And has such a great life.
Yeah, they're amazing. I row on a team called Team Transplant, run by a lady named Donna Fleming, who has had her transplant for 45 years. I believe she's 45 years. She's one of the longest transplant recipients, I think, in Canada.
I think so.
Was she a kidney or what?
She was a kidney.
Right. Kidney transplant.
Way back when, and she is just one of the biggest advocates I think I know. And she started Team Transplant. I can't remember how many years now, but everybody on that team is a transplant recipient or a donor or a healthcare practitioner. So I've met so many double lung transplant recipients, and heart, and pancreas, liver, like you meet them all. And these people go to the transplant games, like almost all of them have been to the transplant games all around the world, and you see how they challenge themselves now where they would never have done that before. These people are out there running triathlons. They're, they're doing javelin, shot put, like, you know what I mean? It's just, you wouldn't have dreamed of doing this before. And now you're traveling to another country and you're competing against other transplant recipients around the world. Like, it's a pretty, I haven't done it, and it's on my bucket list of things to do, but I'm amazed by some of the people that I've met. Just what they've accomplished once they've, especially double lung, to be honest, double lung and heart, to me, like, they're pretty critical.
Right.
Like, dialysis is terrible, but you can live. Whereas, it's pretty hard to live when you can't breathe,
Right.
you know, or without a heart. Like, you know, it's much more critical for you guys,
Right.
I think.
The thing with my situation too, it had just happened so fast. I didn't even know what was going on. You know, as my health was declining and fatigue was setting in and things like that. And I'd go to the doctor, and I felt like Seinfeld, you know, that Elaine, they got a list on me. There's nothing wrong with this guy. And he keeps coming back complaining there's things wrong with him. And so that part was one of the most frustrating things, not having a proper diagnosis.
Yeah.
And they would just set up an appointment to see another specialist, and that would take months and months, and you get there and they run some tests, and, well, there's nothing wrong. And you go back to the doctor again. Well, I'm still not feeling good, or something else manifests, and now it's, you know, some other issues, right? And send you to another specialist, and same thing, comes back and nothing. Finally, with me, I got sent to have a stress test done. And so you get on the treadmill and you start going. I just can't get up to speed. I can't get my heart rate up because I can't breathe. And they say, you got to be able to go more than that. And I'd get on, I'd try it again. I just could not get my heart rate up enough because I couldn't breathe. And so they said that's not right. You have to be able to give it more. And I tried several times and just couldn't do it. Finally, they sent me for a nuclear stress test, and then everything was fine. So, again, back to the drawing board. What's wrong? What's wrong? And then finally I got sent to a respirologist. She took one look at my fingers, and so I had clubbing in my fingers. And I didn't even know what that was. And she sent me to the emergency and made an appointment to come see her the next day. And I thought, I don't know, what's wrong here? Do I have cancer or something? And she told me that you have fibrosis. And I said, well, what's that? I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what the clubbing was. And she went on to explain that the clubbing is a lack of oxygen, and I've been deprived of that for some time. And then she had already set up a lung biopsy for me, and to see what's driving all this. And I was I'm a school teacher, and this was in late August. I was supposed to get ready for school in September, and she said, well, you won't be going back to work for a while. And so I had to make all the arrangements for my classes and all that. It was hectic, and it was so scary too. At that point I thought, is this the end? Yeah. And so I had the biopsy, and then they did the pathology, and that took months to get proper diagnosis back from that. I also had an angiogram set up at that time. Again, they proved then my heart was good, but my lungs were failing miserably. And they just trying to determine what was driving that. And then finally, so that was the August of 2012. It was the end of October 2012 I was diagnosed with scleroderma. And I had no idea what that was either.
Wow.
And that just started driving all these organs to fail.
Wow.
So
and that's not autoimmune disease.
Yeah, my lungs, my esophagus, my stomach, several joints in my body, my fingers, my toes, and everything's affected. It's a multi-organ disease. So it was scary, you know. And then finding out there's no treatment for it. You know, there's nothing you can do. It's just they hit you with all kinds of drugs, hoping that maybe it'll go into remission and try and save whatever's left. And you can't reverse the damage that's done. And as I start researching that disease, boy, is it scary.
Yeah,
it is a scary
what's going to go on here? I don't know.
And it gets pretty critical pretty quickly. I've known quite a few people waiting on the list who have passed away.
Right.
And I think that's what has driven me more to be a bigger part of this, because I had a neighbor who had 3 children. She was in her 50s, early 50s. She had cystic fibrosis, and it happened fast. It happened fast, and she died, and she left 3 kids.
Wow.
You know, and I just, at the time, I was waiting for a kidney, and you know, I watched a lot of people go through that, and a lot of people pass away, and it's like there's no reason. There's no reason this should be happening. Right. There really isn't. If the awareness is out there, like I know countries like Spain and France do have the opt-out system, and I don't know the research on that. I just think that, you know what, if we did get our awareness up, if we got our people out there who are educated enough to know what this is, and also teach people how to eat properly and take care of themselves, stop it from happening. You know what I mean? Because I think with respect to diabetes, with respect to just people's general overall health. There has to be also education from the start. You know, like there's ways to, not in all cases, but there's some ways to actually prevent stuff from happening. At least where kidney failure is concerned, because it could be caused by diabetes. There's ways to prevent, not everything, but there are ways that you can stop it from happening.
I know with emphysema, you see a lot of people that have COPD and they get the transplant. Not to say all of them, but some are caused by smoking. And they still give them the transplant as long as they've, quit smoking and that. But that was preventable for the most part.
Or poor diet.
You
know what I mean?
Too. Yeah.
Like that was one of the things that they emphasized with me from the very beginning is just, you know what, you're going to have to, not that I had a bad diet, but for what was happening to me, because I was diagnosed when I was 18. And I'd already seen my mom go through it, so I already knew what the process was going to be. And I was able to hold it off. I was 18 when I was diagnosed, and I didn't actually start dialysis until I was 24. So just by diet alone, I was able to hold it off for 6 years. So
that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing, yeah.
It's something, you know what I mean? Like when you're that young, you know.
If somebody could give you a pill that would give you 6 years. Hey, you'd be taking it like crazy, so why not just eat well?
You know what? When you're 18, it's hard for anybody to tell you anything.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
You're invincible at that time, right? So I really didn't believe that it could happen.
Well, when you're 47, it's the same thing, though, too, because I didn't think this was happening to me. Life was rolling along like couldn't be better. You know, a couple of healthy kids, a marriage, great job, everything's going along great. All of a sudden, this happens. It's like, what's going on? And I woke up in the mornings as I was going through this thing, and this is all a dream. This is not happening to me.
No, I don't think anybody ever sees it happening until it does, and then you're forced to face reality. You know, and
as my grandmother always said, illness knows no prejudice.
And money isn't going to change that.
What you have doesn't matter.
Money isn't going to change that, and you can't take it with you either. So there's your health is all you got. That's one of the things my mom used to say to me all the time. She's like, if you're not going to take care of yourself, you're going to see very soon what that means, and how that's going to affect you. Well, one of the things I found was, as I saw people, and I was close with people in the transplant program. So once you get listed for the lung transplant, they want to make sure you're committed to going through this process. So you have to go down to the gym that they have at the hospital 3 days a week at Toronto General. So if you fall off that and stop going down there, then they'll take you off the list. So they want to make sure you're committed to be as healthy as you can to go through that process. Because if you're not healthy, you're not going to come out that well on the other side, because it takes a lot out of you. And so with me, I got listed. The same day I was listed, there was another lady that was listed. Now, my situation, for some reason, I only waited 10 days. And I got the phone call, which was incredibly rare. It's not 9 years.
No. But it was a number of factors why that happened. One, I was elevated to a higher status because I was rapidly declining. And the other was that nobody else had the same criteria for the lungs that I had. So really, when those lungs came up, I was at the top of the list. So,
well, and they want the perfect match too. They want to know that this is going to be a good match and it's going to work on the other end. So they always look. That's how the list works. Doesn't matter really where you are on it, because they'll take the top people, but they want to know who's got the best match and the best chances for this being a success and for the longest period of time. So it's not just your blood type, it's your hormone levels, it's your antibodies. And every blood type is different. So I'm an O. So I can give to anybody, but I can only receive from an O. Right. So our list is actually the longest versus, an A or a B.
I'm an A positive.
Okay. So I think my brother was an A and he waited 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
But he actually got a living donor from the paired exchange. I don't know if anybody knows about the paired exchange program. I don't know if can I talk about that quickly?
Talk about the paired exchange
so the paired exchange program is, let's say you do want to donate a kidney, but you're not a match for the person that you want to donate to. You can donate to the list. So let's say you're an A or an O, whatever your blood type is. The person at the top of that list would receive your kidney, and then your person who you wanted to donate would go to the top of their list. So they would get the next kidney
Right.
that came up. And that's what happened to my brother. My brother actually waited 4 years. He got a kidney before me.
Wow.
My mom gave me a ring. She's like, you get a ring, he gets a kidney. He got a kidney from somebody who donated because she wanted her husband to move to the top of his list.
Wow.
So yeah, he got a living donor. So yeah, so that's the paired exchange,
Right.
and you can see it happen. They've done paired exchanges with multiple people, where I think they've gotten as high as 8.
Wow.
8.
Yes, I know a woman in my neighborhood who was part of a pool of 6.
Yeah.
We called it the kidney pool.
It works though, right? You know what? You can't think just because I'm not a match for this person doesn't mean I'm not a match for somebody else. I mean,
Right.
you can certainly still help.
But I was saying, though, the lady that had signed the same day we got listed, she had to wait a year and a half before she got hers, and I had mine 10 days
But
later.
you were way more critical, and that's why you got yours first.
Yeah. But I just felt so bad when I was
But the
going
lungs
back.
were a match too,
They
right?
were and she has her lungs now. She had them just after, she had them in January, and I've talked to her and she's doing great. So
Great.
but it was such a hardship, and I was so sad to see her, because we have the transplant Christmas party every year. So I saw her for 2 Christmas parties where she hadn't had her lungs, and I felt so bad, you know. And, but now she's got them and she's doing well. So
Great.
That's great.
That's important. So I said, and I just said, keep the faith. It'll happen.
It will.
Yeah, it will, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of parts of people that they don't understand that they can donate if they've passed away. You think traditionally kidneys, liver, lungs, heart, and that's it. But there are other things.
Pancreas, the lower, oh my God, intestine, the small and large intestines. So there's eight life-saving organs. So it's the heart, the lungs, the liver, the pancreas, the lower intestine, and the big and small intestines. Did I miss one? There should be 8. No, the eyes are a tissue.
Oh, the tissue. Okay, so the tissue.
Eyes are
okay.
a tissue.
Yeah.
All right.
So like bone,
Heart, lungs,
2 lungs,
liver.
Okay.
2 lungs,
2 lungs.
2 lungs, 2 kidneys, heart, liver, pancreas. Oh no, so just lungs, and then there's the lower intestine,
Large and small intestine.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and most people who need a pancreas often need a kidney. They're pretty.
Yeah.
I see
They
it's
run
always
together.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I've had a
especially
few
if it's
patients
somebody
that
with
have had it.
diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, for
you
sure.
can usually
And
see.
we had a lady on the show a couple of years ago who was a double lung heart transplant recipient.
Wow.
Yeah, Pam. That.
Pam, yes.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I know Pam. She's the one who forwarded this message to come here first. So.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't
It's
even
amazing.
imagine.
Yeah.
She had a heart and lung at the same time.
I believe so.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because when your heart gets really compromised, your lungs are compromised too.
Yeah, one kind of goes with the other.
Right.
Wow.
Well, they were looking at that with me too. They thought I was having the pulmonary hypertension, and they might have to do a lung and heart at that same time. But luckily, it wasn't. So I had a rapid decline in my health. So originally, they wanted to get me ready for listing in January of 2016, and I said, I got to think about this, but I'd like to go away one last time with my buddies down south golfing in March. So reluctantly, they allowed me to do that. And when I came back, I said, okay, now we'll look
go
at
ahead.
listing. Let's go ahead. And I had such a major decline in my lung function. They thought something else must be going on. So going through a series of tests and all that, then they finally determined heart's still okay, and we'll go ahead. So then it took until August to get on the list. And the day I signed was August 10th. The day I got the call was August 20th, the day of the Tragically Hip concert.
Oh, I went to
And my
that.
surgeon came in with her Lucky Tragically Hip t-shirt on, and now I did have to wait about 14 hours or so till the next day. So I actually got it on the 21st, the transplant. So
See, I think that's
was a
why it's
bit of
more
a
critical
waiting.
for you guys, because for us, we can get a living donor. Like for a kidney,
Right.
we can get a living donor. We have that option. And I think that kind of segues into the whole black market, where people think that they can go and just
Buy something. Well, we're going to talk about that when we get back from our break. We're going to hear the weather and have a little break here. When we come back, we'll continue our organ donation awareness show. Don't turn the dial, because you want to hear what's coming up next. This is Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we'll be right back.
Canadians are so nice. So why can't we give up even one kidney after we die? Be an organ and tissue donor for someone in need. Register or find out more at beadonor.ca.
Hey everyone, this is Lil J. Join me every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for The Block Party, a 2-hour journey of the best in the Canadian underground dance music scene, featuring tracks and DJ mixes from Canada's emerging artists, from the disco hits of the 70s to the latest dance floor fillers. No lineups or cover charges, it's your weekly free access to the beats that are packing dance floors in Canada and around the world. The Block Party, Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on 102.9 Whistle FM and online at whistleradio.ca.